We just got more leaked specifications of the upcoming Canon C50. Leaks are flowing fast and furious ahead of the Tuesday announcement, which we'll cover live with our expert guest panel. Do the latest leaks validate OpenGate? Does the camera produce 4K video without a crop? But the big question is, will it deliver a brand new sensor capable of delivering Canon Log 2? Well, folks, we have some good news. Click that subscribe button and we'll get right to it. It costs you nothing, and it means more to us than walking away from a crash does to Richard Hammond. Hi, I'm Simon, your friendly news-hunting lensman who likes to scan the news and rumor sites so that you don't have to, saving you time for more important things like getting an extra hour of sleep. We reported the first set of leaked specifications on the Canon C50 last night, courtesy of a German YouTube channel, Davison. And it looks like that video helped shake the rumor tree, because today we've got more information that's going to validate some of those specifications, but also introduce some other very exciting specs. And if you thought that OpenGate was a bit of a wow factor, well, it's not going to stop there. This camera, the C50, is introducing some very exciting specs that are going to please an awful lot of pro photographers. A lot of people, or I should say videographers, or hybrid shooters that look to the 5 series as being kind of the pinnacle, the place where you get the best photography and the best videography for about 85% of us. Yesterday, Mirrorless Rumors kind of set things off in collaboration with Davison. I'm not saying they were working together, but both sites provided us with information that kind of cross-validated what each one was saying, as well as what Canon Rumors are saying. And what they said is that the C50 would have a 32 megapixel sensor, and it would also provide us with OpenGate. Today's news tells us that the sensor is indeed going to be a 32 megapixel sensor. And why is that interesting? Well, if we go back to some of the original stories talking about the C50 from Canon Rumors, we were told that the C50 essentially replaces the R5C. There's not going to be any R5C Mark II. And why that's surprising is because, well, the 5 series has a 45 megapixel sensor. The Mark I, the Mark II, the R5C all have a 45 megapixel sensor. Now, 32 megapixels is also the rumored sensor resolution for the upcoming Canon EOS R6 Mark III. We were kind of led to believe that this new C50 camera is going to replace the R5C, thinking it's going to be more like a 5 series camera, but some of these specifications seem to be more in tune, more aligned with, well, the R6 Mark III leak specifications, and more apropos, more aligned with what Sony has in the FX3. So what about OpenGate? Well, we're also told that it is going to have OpenGate. And in terms of video recording, 6K recording, not really a surprise. I would expect to see 6K oversampled 4K, but with a 32 megapixel sensor, that should pretty much give us 7K oversampled 4K. And of course, with OpenGate, well, you can do what you like. Now, in terms of 4K, it can do 4K up to 120 frames per second. But that is with a crop. Now, is it a crop like the old EOS R, where you had a 1.6, 1.7 times crop? Or is it going to be more like the Canon 90D with a 1.1 times crop? I don't know. We'll probably find that in the next couple of days. It is going to have dual SD card slots, so no CF Express Type B card slot. But now let's cover off some of the big stuff. We're going to go back to the sensor, because this is where I was, well, not completely shocked, but pleasantly surprised. When I heard it was going to have a 32 megapixel resolution, I thought, well, there goes that chance of having Canon Log 2, right? Because Canon Log 2 needs at least 15 stops of dynamic range, at least in the Canon universe. Well, we're now told today that the Canon C50 will indeed have 15 plus stops of dynamic range. What does 15 plus stops mean? Well, it's nowhere close to 16, it's nowhere close to 15.5, or it would say so. It's probably something like 15.01 to 15.1, not high enough to be noticeable, and putting that plus sign there makes us think it's even higher than it is. So we've got more dynamic range. But what's really exciting is we get Canon Log 3 as well as Canon Log 2. This is pretty impressive. I'm really curious to know what the readout speed is going to be like. With the Canon R5 II, I've had this camera for a year now. As a video shooter, it's a wow camera. It's a huge jump over the Mark I. For a photographer, It's not a huge jump for most. But in terms of video, having that faster readout speed, having Canon Log 2, grading footage from this camera produces incredible results. I'm impressed with how better footage looks. I'm really impressed with dynamic scenes. Even in low light, skin tones look amazing. I spent over a week in Vancouver shooting 1.1 terabytes of footage, all 4K fine and all Canon Log 2. And grading was a cinch, much better compared to Canon Log 3. So, open gate recording, 15 plus stops of dynamic range, Canon Log 2, Canon Log 3. This is shaping up to be a pretty damn powerful camera. I'm excited. I'm really excited. Although I already have the R5 II, so I'm not sure if it's going to cause me to spend another, well, let's say several $1,000s on this new camera. But there is one other capability I haven't told you about yet that we've been told about today, and that's triple base ISO. Sound familiar? Well, that's because Canon introduced this in the C400, a much more expensive camera. So the C50, just imagine for a moment here, with all those capabilities that we've just talked about right here, to come in at a price point, let's just make the assumption it's going to be somewhere between $3,000 and $4,000. I'm really looking at what we see on the market right now, and that's the Canon EOS R5 Mark II and the Canon EOS R5 Mark I, seeing a price range of between $3,000 and $4,000. There is a chance that Canon could, well, sell this camera for about $200 to $300 more than the R5 II, which would place it at around $42.99. We saw this when Sony released the FX3. It was $300 more than the A7S III, which was identical in terms of capabilities, bar a few, including that handle you got to attach to the camera, a thicker body, better thermals, and all that wonderful stuff. And I expect to see better thermals with this camera. So all that for around, let's just assume, $4,000. But it gets Canon Log 2, triple base ISO, open gate recording. Well, if you recently bought the C80 or even the C400, you might be wondering, what's going on here? What's missing? What are we not catching here? And that's what I'm curious about too, because from what I'm hearing, this looks to be a very powerful camera to take on the FX3. And that's a good thing. Now, the FX3 has been out for what, 4 years now? Maybe 5? I'd like to see the competition in the space. Sony's done a terrific job with the FX line of cameras. The FX30, the FX3. It's really impressive, the options that we have from Sony. And Nikon and Canon have pretty much ignored competing with Sony in this segment. A segment that Sony created themselves. This really is exciting. From what I'm hearing right now, sure, dual SD card slots. Not a big fan of that. Hopefully, it provides us with recording over USB-C. That would be terrific because I do a lot of video recording, and I can imagine just doing an hour of shooting and how long it's going to take to copy that off. Even a V90 card is going to take an awful long time. To be able to record externally to a CF Express Type B card slot, for example, well, that would speed things up, and that would speed things up an awful lot. Well, we'll just have to wait and see. But I'm really wondering, and this is something I want to talk about with my expert guest panel Tuesday morning, is why would you get the C400 and why would you get the C50? And another thing I'm impressed with is so far I haven't said R50 yet. We've also been told that Canon may be announcing a new lens alongside the Cinema EOS C50, as it was mentioned to be coming in September, though the exact announcement date wasn't specified to the source. And a few days ago, mirrorless rumors also indicated that we could be getting a second camera, an APS-C version of this C50, but we haven't received any validation or any other sources talking about this. So at this point, I think certainly a lens. Whenever Canon announces a new camera, it's pretty common to get a lens, not always guaranteed, and sometimes we get some accessories. As I teased earlier, we are covering the Canon event live with my expert guest panel starting at 8 a.m. Toronto and New York time. That's 2 p.m. Central European time. Now, one of our guests is a director of photography at James Jackson Films, and the other is a small business owner and both of these shoot with cinema gear. So I think this is this is going to be a pretty exciting conversation. We've got about an hour before the announcement drops. We're going to cover everything, talk about the latest leak specs, cover the announcement live, and then give you our take on what Canon just announced. And if you're interested in pre-ordering from B&H or Adorama, please use our smart pre-order links down below in the description. These guys right here. This channel is very much viewer supported, and your support allows us to avoid those annoying sponsorship ads. For those people who hate YouTube ads and decide to pay YouTube so they don't have to watch ads, it can be annoying when your favorite videos interject 30 to 5-minute videos, and I just don't believe in doing that. So when you pre-order using my affiliate links to Adorama, B&H, it really does help support this channel because I get anywhere from 2 to 5% back, and thank you. It means an awful lot to me. It takes an awful lot of effort to do each of these videos, although I gotta tell you, I love it. This is something I really enjoy. I've been doing it for 6 years. Very few things do I do that long if I don't have to. And while I've turned this into a real business, if you're watching this channel, there's a pretty good chance that this device, this camera that you own, isn't just a means to a business. It's not just a means to a hobby. It's something very special, regardless of the brand, regardless of the model. It's one of those few tools that allows us to communicate something that we see in our mind onto a screen, onto a piece of paper, so that others can see. We're able to communicate things that mean an awful lot to us, whether you're a portrait photographer, landscape, or wilderness, wildlife photographer. They're pretty incredible devices, and that's why I am pretty excited about this announcement on Tuesday. The C50 is proving to be a very exciting camera. All they would have had to have done is take the R5 II and basically make it an R5C Mark II. And I think a lot of us would have been happy. But to give us open gate recording, that's a big deal. Triple base ISO, another big deal. And to get not just Canon Log 3, but Canon Log 2, it's really amazing. I mean, to have a really nice lens on here, and like shooting cars, for example, to be able to get into the engine compartment and raise the exposure to the point where the highlights are almost touching but not clipping, and then to grade that in post without any muss, without any fuss, you can see that engine compartment, a low light setting, a low light scene without any noise. It's just an incredible codec. I love the R5 II, and for me, I don't know at this point if it makes sense to get another camera that does almost the same thing that this does. Sure, there's open gate recording. Yes, there's triple base ISO from what I've heard so far. If all this proves to be true, and it is coming from multiple sources, folks, but remember, I can point to times in the past where everybody thought something was coming and it didn't. So fingers crossed, as more information comes out, I'll be sure to let you know. I normally publish videos around 3 a.m. to around 7 a.m. in the morning Eastern Daylight Time. But when we've got major events like this, if something comes across my desk, I'm going to publish it right away so that way you can stay in touch. So click that subscribe button and tell me your thoughts. Thank you so much for watching. Have yourself a great day, and we'll see you again soon.